let's dive in. I want to share my screen here because I did want to show you. And what I kept doing is just put the all the forms on kind of a repeating thing that we did. So you probably have this. This is the most updated form, so you can get rid of all the other PDFs. I'll do a quick review here at the end, but I want to get to, and everyone should have this in the chat box. But I kind of want to get to where we are right now. I wanted to provide you with just a couple of, I don't like the word hack, I rarely use the word hack, but I'm using the word hack. Simple tools, simple shortcuts, if you will, that actually work. I was having a client call just earlier today, actually two client calls, two private client coaching calls, and they both were around the same thing, which is interesting how that happens. They both were around letting go. And, you know, I was talking with this one client, she's actually a pediatrics OT, and it just dawned on her that, you know what, I realized the hardest part of all of this has been about just me being willing to let go. I'm so not used to it. Like, I've always been responsible, even if I kind of delegated or wrote a policy, I still owned the thing, whatever the activity was. And I told her, I go, that's kind of the biggest challenge that we have as business owners is the idea of not letting go, keeping some aspect of things for whatever reasons. No one can do it as well as us. They don't seem to get it. Other thing we conjure up in our mind. So I kind of put that quote there as kind of, you know, letting go is a single biggest problem we have in creating time freedom, which is what everyone's here to do. So here's a couple of time hacks. This one I started doing recently, you know, in the last, oh, I don't know, several months of this year. It's called DOD, definition of done. The number one thing I said, you can tell me if this resonates. Number one thing I used to say was, can't they just read my mind? It would just be a lot easier. Can't you just read my mind? Because I would be moving so fast. I would tell people the gist of what I wanted, but the people that I was talking to, my very intelligent PTs and front desk, the gist wasn't enough for them. I have to go into detail, which is what I do. And I always got frustrated when, of course, they didn't do it the way that I had it pictured in my mind. And then they got frustrated because they saw the disappointment in them and it just kept going around and round. So I realized that the biggest problem was I needed to get super clear on what I wanted. In other words, Stephen Covey said it best in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, begin with the end in mind. It's like habit number 2 or 3. And what does that mean? In this case, whatever task or activity you have, begin with being crystal clear on what it looks like being completed, being fully done. There's nothing else to do. What does that look like? Because if you can't describe that, then you're going to get frustrated when finish this and you're like, no, it's not finished. Well, that's what you told me. And then it becomes an interpretation type of thing. I interpreted that meant this, and you're like, no, it's supposed to be this. So where we go wrong, I know where I went wrong, is we're not really sure what done means. So here's an instance that I put down around ordering supplies, something simple as ordering your supplies. I remember how frustrated I used to be with ordering supplies. So I said, this task is done when the office and clinical supplies are in stock, they're organized on the shelves, such that anytime a therapist or front office person needs them, or a patient is purchasing something, because often we didn't have this, the darn stuff, wants to purchase them, they are available. You see, there's a lot of steps involved to make sure. And yes, we can shoot a video. Here's how you order, or here's the spreadsheet of how many minimum quantity we need of something. All of that is nice. But what's really nice is they are clear of what done is. So I loved grabbing this I didn't make this up. I grabbed it from a mentor of mine. I love grabbing this idea of the definition of done. And I began using this, like I told you, and people really appreciated it. Like I said, hey, would you mind? I just did it for my office manager just recently. I said, would you mind updating, let's say, the Vimeo things? And just to be sure, the definition of actually done is when the link is in our learning management system to Vimeo, titled, properly edited, that there's nothing that needs to be done, and the person is getting complete value of the video training. Because it was always something was missing. I did a video, it wasn't titled correctly. I did a video and they didn't trim the beginning of it. It annoyed the crap out of me. I did a video, there wasn't the proper thumbnail. So I just made it very clear as when I say this task is done, this is what I'm meaning in plain English, like this. So this is a huge time hack. Questions, thoughts, comments? DOD, definition of done.
Where do you include that? Is that like part of the checklist that you provide?
It could be when you're looking to delegate something, it could be you begin with that. Let's begin with the definition of done. When this activity or task is done, here's what it looks like. Then you can do the video. Then you can do your high-level steps and the frequency. You can certainly do it. Or it could just be something that it isn't really a system that you're delegating. You're just getting clear. Like mine wasn't a whole system. I just said, just so I'm being completely clear on what I mean by complete and done, this is done when it looks like this, and this is happening. So she won't come back to me and say, okay, Jamey, all done, and then I stop, go back to the thing, and you can tell me if anyone's done this, go back to whatever the task was, and I go, what is she talking about? This is not even close to being done. Mine, it was based on the direction that I was giving her, which of course in my mind, the directions I was giving her were very different than what she was hearing. And remember the thing about communication. Communication is not about you saying it, it's about the person you're communicating to is understanding it. Our job is to make sure they understand it. This helps with that. So, Christina, it can be done either way, but I was looking at this just as simple as you're just communicating, hey, I want to make sure that, when you take this task over, my definition of really being done is this. And then if they have any questions, they can ask. Other than that, you just want to hear, okay, sounds good. I'll let you know when it's done. And then, of course, if it's not done to your satisfaction, this is then becomes a teaching moment. You can get clear on, okay, well, what wasn't complete? And then, of course, next time. Any other comments or thoughts around DOD, definition of done? Sue, you were smiling when I was saying people not doing it the way you think it should be done.
Yeah, it's kind of like
stories to share there.
And people like not reading my mind, and I've had that thought, like, could you just watch what I do? Like, have you observed anything? Even some of my therapists were formerly my interns, and I'm like, did you learn anything during that 6 months? So I don't know. So this is good. You just say it, write it down. Like, I think they're learning what I'm teaching, but obviously something else was going on.
Yeah, I think the other deeper thing is, we see the world as we see the world. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And when you look at your staff, the staff isn't seeing things the same way as us. I don't care if they're following you and monitoring and shadowing you. They still won't pick up the stuff that you think they should be picking up. So if we just take responsibility as leaders, as the leader in our business, if we just say, look, I'm going to be as clear as I possibly can. And then whatever I'm not clear on will be obvious if whatever the thing is doesn't deliver the result. But then we have other tools and stuff like that. But then we'll go ahead and, figure out which part is not right, and we'll get it right the next time. So it's always this progressing, getting better, getting better, getting better. And as long as you're looking at it like that and have some core things like we're talking about in this intensive, then you don't get into the real issue of being disappointed by people or putting down people. I mean, down people, just rolling my eyes. Like, I could be, back in the day, I could be very sarcastic with my staff. I said, really? Didn't think to put the mail on my desk so I could open it? Just decided just to leave it next to you all day through the weekend? Really? Like, it didn't really work out real well, and then no wonder I had a huge attrition rate with my front desk people. But how clear was I? Was I just, when the mail comes in, just make sure you put it on my desk? Or did I have the mail SOP with the video, the definition of done? This task is done when the mail is on my desk before I leave on Friday, in this order. Like, if I look back on it now, we're talking probably 10, 15 years ago, I've been like, God, that would have been so easy. Because the person was great, but she didn't leave on great terms because I was kind of an asshole. Because I was frustrated. Because that way I wanted it done, but I didn't know all this stuff. So anyways, any other comments or questions? Do you see how this can be used in your clinic? Are you thinking of something right now? Cool.
I was going to say, I think that's one of the big things that's come to light for me is like, I've sort of had this, we're all professionals, we're all in this, we're all doing this kind of, oh, everybody's just going to see it how I see it. And I'm like, oh, I have not said that very clearly, have I? And like, that's been really good and similar to what you were saying of just, it's good to just articulate it. This is the way that we're going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, in the whole PT profession, there was this big gung-ho strive. I remember the whole Vision 2020 thing, and it was like, we're all going to be doctors. Hey, kumbaya, we're all doctors now. And it didn't really change how people see themselves as professionals. They still don't. They see themselves, some of them just hourly employees, trading time for money, just clocking in, clocking out. And I was like, that's not the definition of a professional. You do what you have to do. That's what it is. Anyone can clock in, clock out, but it's just funny how that mindset is not what, okay, you're a doctor here, but they don't see themselves that way. So I think many of us make the mistake. Yeah, but they're professionals. They have a doctorate. They've been taught. I go, don't assume any of that. You can laugh it off when you kind of just say, you know what, I don't really care how they are. I'm going to train them the way I want to train them. And that gives you more control and power and ownership.